Hi, this is Kenty Khan. I'm delighted today to have Swintozielskyz as my guest on today's show. Stephen is the global president of CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. CIMA is the world's largest body of professional management accountants with a worldwide membership of over 100,000, of which 1,500 students and members are in Canada. The visit to Canada every year by CIMA's global president comes soon after being elected to this prestigious position, and it is with great pleasure that I welcome to Canada Stephen Swintozielskyz. Stephen, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
You know, looking good with the trappings of the office and everything else, and you know, we're accustomed to seeing that. For us here in Canada, Stephen, when we get this opportunity to chat with the new CIMA global president, we know it's the beginning of summer. It's good weather, and we look forward to this, because for us here, after going through the kind of winter sometimes we have, it's very refreshing, you know, to see the new CIMA go. And we've got a great relationship with CIMA Canada, and we know that every year we are going to have an opportunity to chat with the new CIMA global president, because your term is only 1 year. So every year we do this, we see a new president. So congratulations on your elevation to the presidency, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You knew last year as deputy president you'd be president this year. Were you preparing for this trip? Because every year somebody comes here. What have they told you about coming to Canada and so on?
Well, you do get a little bit of preparation about where you're going to visit, but I've got to be honest, the expectations about coming to Toronto and Canada has been smashed. I mean, the people are just absolutely fantastic. It's a cosmopolitan city and country. The people are friendly. It's a fantastic country. I'm just so glad to be here.
So we're glad you say that. You know, when you come here, it's good for the new CIMA global president, because your first official duty is taking a trip abroad. How good is that?
Well, yeah, but I think at the end of the day, it sounds glamorous, but you know, you're in the airport lounge, you're in the hotel. It's a tough call, I'll tell you. It's a tough call.
It is a tough call. Now, seriously though, this year, you're the 85th president, I understand.
That's correct, Cantor, yeah.
85, yeah. You don't look a day closer. We'll just throw that in there. However, what's serious, what's important is that you're going to be leading the global body, CIMA, into their centenary.
Yeah, absolutely.
1919 to 2019. Does this give you added pressure, added responsibilities, because it's a very special time for CIMA?
I don't think it's additional pressures, but I think it's about elevating what we do. We've been around for 100 years, and I've got two themes that I'm engaging with our membership. The first one is to respect our heritage in terms of our past of 100 years, and the second theme is to reach out into the future, and what is the future of finance. So it's about not just looking back, it's about looking forward. So I've got a nice little balance to get a messaging across. Now,
for some of our viewers who don't, you know, who haven't seen us interview the CIMA global president, and I've said we see you every year, there's something that brings you here, especially to our fair shores, and one of those things is the CIMA Mayor's Trophy annual cricket match. It's a showcase, and it's one of the many good things that CIMA Canada does. They help with grassroots cricket. They've won awards for putting on this, and it's a fabulous event. They get the whole community involved. People we didn't even think could play cricket, they come out and they play. Governmental people, you know, so politicians, people from the industry. It's just a wonderful time. So it's a great day, and I know you've come for that, but you've come also for more than that. There are other meetings slated for you and so on. Give us a sense as to, you know, what brings, I mean, it may differ from one year to another, but what are you expected to do on this visit, Stephen?
That's a great question, Cantor. I think part of what I've done is actually I've set my agenda of what I want to do, and I'll just pick on some of the things that we're doing. I think the first thing is about our membership. So we've had some membership events where I've met some of our people out here. Very inspiring stories. So membership is a key thing for the visits. The second thing which I've engaged with is CFOs. So I've been talking to quite a few big business leaders in Canada. I won't name them because it looks like I'm name dropping and advertising, but I can assure you.
You don't want any of that.
You don't want any of that, I know that, but these are big organisations, so we're engaging with that. One of them have invited me back to come in October to do a talk to their finance team. Thirdly, then just connecting with the media and making our messages known of what we do. And it's engaging with business leaders. So it's right from new students all the way up to CFOs and chief executive officers. So the outreach of what I'm doing is quite big and wide.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, certainly from a membership standpoint here, it's fabulous always to have the global president of the body, you know, with us, and you get to meet people. You get to really see what's happening. So that's really great. How about cricket? Are you a cricket fan? Are you?
I'm actually a football fan.
You're a football fan. The team's doing good this year.
Yeah, so I'm a Man United fan.
Man United.
So I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, you're allowed to say that.
So I'm a fan.
I mean, I'm a Man United fan myself.
Yeah. So yeah, I like sport in general, but my passion is football, and the World Cup is sort of going on this year, so that's interesting.
All right, well, we'll continue chatting with you, Stephen, but we do have to take a short break.
Okay, that's great.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back with my guest, Stephen Swintozielskyz. Stephen is the Global President of CIMA. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm chatting with Stephen Swintozielskyz. Stephen is the Global President of CIMA, and we're talking about Think CIMA and about Stephen's visit to Canada. Well, Stephen, a little bit about yourself, sir. We know that you've got great experience in the private, public, consultancy sectors. You are a much sought-after speaker at lectures and conferences, and you've worked all over this world. You've worked in the US, you work in Canada, of course, you've worked across Europe, and you've got an interest in youth, I understand it, in things that are young. Tell me a little bit about your career path as you got up the ranks and you earned your stripes and you got to where you are now. Give us a sense of how did you get along your career? How did you get up here?
Okay, it's a long story, so I'm going to just absolutely
we don't
condense
have,
it down.
you know, we know it's a whole lot of stuff, but you'll be very brief for us.
Yeah, so I started, funnily enough, my career in the baking industry with Allied British Foods as a bakery in the UK. So there's an instant connection there in Canada. I then moved into the motor industry. I then moved into the privatisation, which was occurring in the UK, so I got involved as a consultancy there. And then I got involved in the rail industry, and each position I got was bigger, more complicated, and I ended up as head of a shared services centre, which was in charge of several £billion of costs and income coming through. So quite big business experiences. And in between that, I've worked in France, Germany, and the States. And one of the things and features I did was manage to get my operations into a world-class operation. And I've had then research from universities and CIMA, and that then motivated me to share my learnings with communities. So I've wrote a couple of books and qualifications around my experiences to share my knowledge out. So I'm a business author, and then I've got invited to lead in European business schools and business schools in the UK. 3 months ago, I was lecturing to people in Poland. There's 1,100 people there, and I've lectured to 6 people. For me, it doesn't matter the size. It's the message. It's the message. It's the message.
Be a little specific. What are your areas of expertise as you got into these jobs and you do consulting? I know you talked about the kind of companies you work with, but what's your area? You know, and how did CIMA, you know, your qualifications as a management, how did this help you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think CIMA for me gave me the bedrock and the foundation of my skills, and then it's not just about obtaining the qualification, it's how you learn and apply them. So I've applied them well, and the skills and competencies. So I've ended up understanding how to implement world-class finance functions. So that's one thing I have. I've set up shared services. So that's another feature I've got. And the third thing, I've developed and authored a book on business partnering. So it's always about on the edge and in the future of what we should be learning in terms of our communities.
And as regards CIMA and the position now, you must have held progressively responsible positions in CIMA as you come along. What are some of the things you might have done there?
Yeah, I got invited to CIMA Council to be a co-opted member rather than an elected member. So I served council for a couple of years. Then I got invited to join their executive committee. Then I got invited to be a chairman of one of the policy chairs. Then after about 4 or 5 years, I got elected to be the vice president, then the deputy president, which is more or less automatic. And here I am as president. So within 5 or 6 years, it's been quite a rapid level of promotion through CIMA.
You're here and you are the guest of CIMA Canada. And in talking about the connection, the relationship between CIMA globally and all your other chapters around the world and CIMA Canada, you've got a line of succession in terms of who heads CIMA globally. And you're president now, you were deputy president last year, and that's your line of succession. The current deputy president is Amal Ratnayaka from Canada.
That's right, yeah.
And that therefore means that next year, through no fault of yours, you will leave the presidency and Amal will become the president. That tells us something about the relationship you have here. There's possible, and I don't know this, you may have to tell me if you've had other global presidents that come from chapters around the world, but this probably will be the first time a Canadian CIMA member will become the president in another year's time. You want to talk a little bit about the relationship between CIMA globally and the CIMA Canada?
Yeah, I think CIMA is actually a global institute. We are demographically based throughout the world. We have diversity, we have male, female, we have people throughout the world. And Amal is from Canada. It'll probably be our first, well, he will be our first president from Canada. Great guy, he's my deputy. So part of the process of the way CIMA works is we have a succession planning, so there's no change of philosophy or direction. Everybody buys into what we do. So for example, Amal will be part of the centenary year on the second half.
Yes, in the second half, yes.
So I've worked with Amal, so he'll be showcasing things in Canada and Sri Lanka, which is his home country. So it's a team game, and Amal is a great team member.
In as much time as we have before we get to the next break, give us a sense, we talk about CIMA, CIMA Canada, Global CIMA. What is CIMA? I mean, yes, the Society of Management Accountants, but who are members of CIMA? What do they have to do to become members of CIMA?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's two parts to it. I think the first thing you need to do is you need to pass some very, very tough professional exams. And they are tough. For your viewers, it's probably like an MBA level, so it's at that professional standard. But just passing the exams is not sufficient. You have to have the practical experience. So to become a CIMA member, you have to have a high level of intellect and also a great level of expertise. So that is what you need to do to become a CIMA member. In terms of what CIMA members do, it's actually quite a wide variety. The classic role for a management accountant, for the viewers, is somebody in a business who's advising the finances of what should go on. So for the viewers, it would be cash flows, budgeting and forecasting. You'll have an expert in-house. So that is the classical role. But in terms of our members, we have people who are into quants, banking, financial advisors, they've become CEOs, they work in IT, they work in retail. So to keep it fairly simple, the CIMA qualification is actually a business passport for any professional activity.
You want to get into.
It's
yes.
a passport. But the traditional role is you are the person inside the business.
Of the finances.
The finances. But
now it's much more than that.
It grows.
Totally different worldwide environment that we operate under, and no more is you know, the role the persona of the accountant seem to be dour and you know, stoic, and it's very vibrant now, and we can just tell by the members of CIMA that we meet here, the kind of work they do and what they put back into the community and that kind of stuff. We do have to take a short break, and we have a little bit more to do, and we'll continue after the short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break with my guest, Stephen Swintozielskyz. Stephen is the Global President of CIMA. Welcome back. My guest is Stephen Swintozielskyz, who is the Global President of CIMA. Well, Stephen, in this your one-year term, and all CIMA Global Presidents, they only serve for a year, what are the areas of focus that you plan to focus on during your term as President?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are two themes. I think the first theme is we have to concentrate on our centenary year. Being 100 years is a big thing, and we should celebrate that. But again, the second thing which I'm reaching out is on the future of finance. So what does that mean? It's basically how we're going to survive in the future for the next 100 years. So part of that is to look at our continual professional development of how we can enhance the skills of our people, and we're refreshing our qualifications. So, and the next thing is how do we engage with our finance communities. So it's a forward-looking agenda, but also having a foundation of 100 years. So that's the tone of my presidential term. Beneath that, I've changed the focus a little bit to look at what the business outcomes, what is my legacy in terms of what I leave the Institute, because we're right, 1 year is just a term. So I've got various programs and activities. So, for example, one activity is right here now is to engage with media and to get our messages across as we're doing here. 3 weeks ago I did a vlog. I've never done a vlog, and we got 52,000 hits. Now for me that is phenomenal. That was within 2 days.
2 days, wow.
So I was surprised with that. So media is something to get our messages out upon. The second thing for me is then to work with CEOs, so engage with those. The third thing we do is then work with other professional bodies, because we are a good neighbour, so we like to work with other professional people. The next thing is to work with the public, so we have trust. So for example, the cricket matches, you know, we're nice guys. You know, we do good things, but we are we're nice people, so we give back to our communities. And the other part to my main theme is also to engage with our memberships and students. So I have lots of membership events throughout the world of engaging with our communities there. So it's quite a wide spectrum of engagement. And one thing, for example, which I've had a discussion with my Canadian colleagues is not that I just come here for a few days, but the question I'm asking of them is what legacy and what good did I do when I was here?
Yes.
And I won't go through the details of that, but 1 year is 1 year, and I'd like to feel whatever I've left here can be continued and develop good things.
Well, that's very well said, very well put, sir. The English, and I mean a lot of this when you happen in England, you're known for bunting and celebrations and parade, none of that kind of stuff for the centenary year?
I think there will be elements of that. I think the celebrations will go globally. So we were more of a participative body. So we don't manage ourselves autocratically. We just say, look, we want to do some celebrations. You decide.
So no big gala or anything.
We've got some big things. We've got some big things going on. We've got a big event on the 8th of March, which is when our institute was formed. So that'll be in London. We're going to have a centenary ball as well, and we'll also have events. So coming back to Amal, who we said before, I've said to Amal, look, you live in Canada, you're from Sri Lanka, you've got to do some big things in your home country, so
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that to you.
In about the minute or so that I have left, Stephen, let's wrap this up by letting our viewers know what are the sort of things that Stephen does outside of CIMA and all this great work you do in the public and private sector. You talked about liking football. What other things? Woodworking. What other things that you like to do?
The thing what drives me is actually I've got some great experiences, and I want to share those experiences with a younger generation. So I'm very keen on sharing my learning to other communities, and then that's something which really motivates what I do. Sharing knowledge is empowering for a younger generation, and some of the people who I've recruited at very junior positions are now finance directors of big organisations, and for me that is, I know I've imparted something to help them, and that is the giving back which I believe in.
Well, that is extremely noble, Stephen, and on that note we will close our interview for today, because that's all the time we have. I just want to wish you a wonderful stay here in Canada. I don't know if you've been here before. I know you worked in the US. Have you been here? So it must have changed from the last time you were here, our city, and just enjoy whatever you need to do here. Have good meetings and meet as many people and leave your legacy as good as it is. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
My guest has been Stephen Swintozielskyz, the Global President of CIMA. We want to thank Stephen for coming to the studios today and chat about things CIMA and chat a little bit about himself. And for the Asian Network, this is Kenty Can.